So let's go into part 2 of my story as a debt collector and how I arrived to where I'm at today. My name is Jay, and welcome to Ask a Debt Collector. Now, I've been in the debt collection industry for over 15 years. I've done it all, from skip tracing to collecting to management, and I've owned 2 debt collection agencies. For the past 8 years, I've been the go-to guy for friends and family for questions regarding debt and credit, and now I want to be that person for you. If you have any questions, put them down in the comment section. I promise I'll answer those questions. Let's go. We're working for this guy. We're able to work from home. We're making 30 cents on the dollar from every dollar we collect, right? So if you collect 30 grand, you walk away with 9 grand. The rest goes to or is sent back to him. And so me and this guy are both working for this guy and establishing our own businesses. I started my collection business on top of collecting with him to eventually, in about 5 to 6 months, no, about a year, I stopped working for this guy. I'm working full time. I have enough money to start my own business. Same thing with my friend, a good friend of mine, is a guy who taught me how to collect over at the second job that I had. He's starting his own business. We end up finding a mutual guy who can actually sell us accounts to actually collect on, all right? I don't have any contingent clients. He is my only client, and I'm debt-owned, buying debt-owned accounts from him. So to put it in perspective for you, I spent on my first portfolio, I think I spent like $1,900 over the course of maybe 4 or 5 months. I collected like 30 grand on that portfolio. Similar, my buddy, he spent a little less, like $1,500. I think he collected like 40 grand on that first portfolio. Now, I say that to say this: to have success very, very early and not struggle and so forth, you don't learn anything. It's almost like winning the lottery early. You know, it's like winning the lottery and you have no idea of money management. You end up broke. Now, for myself, this is what was happening. I'm collecting. Now, I don't have, at this time span, I don't have a system to collect on. I actually, from that friend of mine's, every single account I was putting on a Word document, right? And basically, I would have folders with the actual statuses each account was in, and I was actually collecting that way. And it was my first taste of freedom. I'll never forget, there was a day, at this time span, I wasn't, my daughter, who is 16, about to be 17 now, I took her to the park. And I remember I was talking to a consumer who had like an account that I had bought. She owed like 15 grand or whatnot. And after negotiating and whatnot, we came down to $9,000 to pay it. And this lady was so skeptical. She didn't want to give me a check by phone. She didn't want to pay until she actually had the money in the account. And so she was supposed to be calling me by the end of the week. I talked to her about a Tuesday. She was supposed to call me by Friday to set up a check by phone to pay. But she didn't want to set it up until she had the money in the account. So I was like, okay, chances are she probably won't pay, but, whatever the situation is. By this time, I probably have about 3 grand collected. Now, mind you, I own everything. I don't really have any overhead because I'm working from home. Outside of purchasing that portfolio, I have a Microsoft Word that I got for free. And that's how I'm doing the accounts. I put the social, all the stuff on these accounts, and I locked my computer and so forth. So I'm at the park playing. And so something told me, you know what, bring my laptop, bring my phone, just in case this consumer calls. And so I had like a Vonage phone line, and it would forward to my cell phone in case I couldn't pick up the phone. Or if I'm on the phone dialing, you would get a busy signal, so then it would go to my cell phone. So that way I never missed a call when a consumer called in. So I'm sitting down and I'm playing with my daughter at this park. A nice sunny day. And boom, the call comes. I remember the area code and I'm like, I wonder if this is that lady. Get on the phone. I'm at the park, but it was like on a Tuesday. No, it was probably like a Wednesday or Thursday. So it's not too many people at the park. People are at work or whatever the circumstance is. And so I was able to, I get her on the phone and she's like, hey, I have the check information I want to pay. And I was like, okay, you're paying the $9,000. Yes. So I go, okay, can you hold on one moment? I place her on hold. I'm ecstatic. I'm like, I'm about to make $9,000 and I'm out with my kids. And this is the easiest money ever, you know? And so I get her back on the phone. She ends up paying. I take that $9,000 to the bank. Obviously, it takes some time to clear, but it clears. I send the lady a paid in full letter. And my mind state at this time is, I need to get more and more people to pay like this. This is crazy. I'm 2 weeks into the month. I barely even worked, and I made, probably like $13,000 that month. I couldn't believe it. And because it was owned, that was that one portfolio I spent the $1,900 on. That's all that I lost. So in my mindset, I go even harder with regards to collecting. Now, my buddy who started his own business, he has a family, he's married and so forth, and his mindset is a lot different from me. So for about 8 months, I was working maybe 3 or 4 days and averaging like $7,000 to $15,000. That's it. 3 or 4 days of calling. I would call and then these people would pay, and that was that. And so of course, when I was getting my money, didn't know anything about investing, didn't know anything about credit. My credit wasn't even all that well. But I did know how to party. I did know how to buy a bunch of liabilities and have a good time. My buddy, on the other hand, he was establishing more contingent accounts and learning the ropes with regards to getting more stuff. 8 months into my first business, the one guy who we purchased accounts from, I went to go purchase another portfolio from him, and he couldn't sell me anything anymore. He wasn't able to sell any more accounts. He got out of the business. Now, that was the end of what happened with me. Now, my buddy, he had 3 or 4 different contingent people. He had an office going where he hired like his cousin and whatnot, and the ball was rolling with him. He understood business a lot better than I did. But the mind state with regards to collections was still the same. I didn't care. It was collect money. So before my company went down, I ended up talking to my buddy. I ended up going and working with him. And I got a good commission rate or whatever. I was able to bring my accounts over. I had other collectors collecting on those and making money and so forth. And it was cool. Worked for him for about, at this time, it was probably about 2 years. Then I ended up moving to Ohio to try and rectify a situation which was a disaster, a waste of my time. 2 years there, I ended up losing everything. And my mind state changed at that time span because now the collector became the consumer. So people were calling me to pay debts and so forth, and I'm just like, hey man, I'm going through something I can't pay. And I was getting people who was being nasty to me about paying, just like how I was to other consumers. So it opened up my eyes, and it made me think like, wow, you never know what somebody's going through. And in our head as a collector, we're just like, well, hey, you're going to have to pay me. And you don't care about their situation until I went through a situation and a circumstance myself where financially everything was hard and I had creditors calling me and I got to see how it felt on that end. It made me feel crummy. It made me feel like I was less than. I got this one collector. I know this was all karma, who was just, he was sort of kind of nasty, man. He was talking to me bad, saying all kinds of stuff to get the money from me. And it made me think of how I was. Now, I wasn't that extreme, but it was just like, wow, I can't believe that I used to do this to people when people are really hurting financially. But move forward, to make a long story short, basically, I ended up coming back to San Diego. I ended up working with that buddy of mine's. And in less than a year, I bought half of his company. I was serious and determined about collecting. And then a year after that, I acquired the rest of his business, and this was my second debt collection agency, and I ended up collecting from there and doing what I was doing. Now, over the course of that time span, same thing. I was sort of kind of hard, trying to get the money. Was a little more nice with regards to people, and I realized you get more bees with honey. That's when I had an epiphany that, you just respect people, everyone's not going to pay. Things are going to happen. I'm not going to be rude or nothing like that. And I made good money for some time with regards to that. But I always feel guilty with regards to collections in general. And I didn't really want to do it anymore. But I was like, hey, that's what it is. And so as time progressed, people start asking me questions about credit. And, by this time I have my bearings around collections, and I know how to collect and so forth. And so then, I end up taking on like 2 or 3 family members. It turned up to like 20 family members. I'm cleaning up their credit. And I'm still collecting, but I'm cleaning up the credit. I'm just doing it pro bono, helping them out. And the thank yous and how people made me feel after I cleaned up the credit, that feeling was way more gratifying, way better than me collecting 20 grand, 30 grand in a month on collections, right? Because it's stressed out, a lot of stuff, you're just antsy. But when I cleaned up someone's credit and the way that they acted, and they were able to go get new credit cards or get that house or get that car, the feeling that I got was way more gratifying than if I collected $100,000 in debt collections, cleaning up someone's credit. So my mindset started to change, and I started thinking to myself, you know what? This is a lot better, man. I'd rather clean people's credit up. And then I thought, you know what? Maybe I could make a YouTube page and go on here and sort of kind of give people the mindset and what's going on and the do's and the don'ts with regards to the debt collection industry. And I would feel a lot better because I'm helping people, right? I want to help. I don't want to cause stress to people. And so that's where I'm transitioning. That's where I'm going. My mindset with regards to consumers, you have to have tough skin, and you have to be sort of kind of stern and mean in that arena. And not that I can't do it, but it's just not as gratifying and fulfilling to me as credit repair is, cleaning people's credit. So I'm in transitioning to get into that. And this is part of the start. And this is where I'm at now. For those of you who listen to this video, thank you. Be sure to like and subscribe. Like I always state, if you have any questions about credit or debt, put them down in the comment section, and I promise I'll answer those questions for you. And as always, you be great.